And our moderator tonight will be Crystal Shoji, and she will be introducing the candidates. The first ones will be for mayor.
Today. And I'll go through a little bit of what we're doing tonight. I think most of you probably have seen the agenda. But first we have the group with the mayoral candidates who are up here with me now. And this will go on for probably about an hour, a little less, I guess. And then we'll have a second group which will include the council candidates. So all the questions won't be able to be answered because I see, like for the mayors here, if we take the 37 minutes, that's about 18 minutes apiece. And we have about 14 questions, and they're entitled to up to 2 minutes to answer questions. So it'll limit them to, it limits the questions, and so we're trying to pick the ones or put some of them together and things like that. So thank you all for being here. The first thing I'm going to do is introduce the candidates for mayor, and then I will ask the candidates to give their introductory speeches for 2 minutes. So on my right is Angela Cardas. She's the Chief Operations Officer of Cardas Audio. She is currently a member of the Bandon School Board and graduated from Bandon High School. I will be calling both candidates by their first names. It's easier. That's what most of them have on their signs anyway, I've noticed, up and down the road. Not just here, but everywhere. So that's how I'm going to do it. On the left is Mary Schamehorn. She's retired from Western World newspaper. She did that in 2004. She serves on the Southern Coos Health District Board of Directors. Oh, yeah.
That's all right. We've got
Okay. She serves on the Southern Coast Health District Board of Directors, was on the City Council in the 1970s and 80s, and is currently the Mayor of Bandon. Each time we have a question, we will start with a different of the two candidates, and then when we go to the other group, we will always start with a different one so that we don't have the same person answering the first question each time. Because sometimes it's nice to hear what the other people say. We're also going to be passing around the mic, so if I forget, you guys just tell me. Okay, so why don't we start with you, and you give your introductory statements.
I'm sorry, hello, thank you to everybody in the back. I think I'm supposed to remain seated, so I'll just talk to the first row here. But thank you so much for coming, I really appreciate it. My name is Angela Cardas. I am, like you said, the CEO of Cardas Audio. We've been here about 40 years. I've been graduated from Bandon High School, graduated from Oregon State University, go Beavs, and I now have a 14-year-old at Bandon High School. My life is here, my joy is here, I love Bandon, and I really want to make it better. I want to have the mayor candidate, or as a mayor candidate, I'd like to see the mayor look outward, and I'd like to reach out and deal with our regional representatives and go to the state level and bring more attention to Bandon and the needs that we have. We've really focused on being more of a silo in the past however many years, and I do believe that newer generations coming into public service are working more on collaborative efforts, and I'm really looking forward to working with other regional people to bring that collaboration, to have Coos County be a whole, and as a whole, go to the state level and bring those problems, solutions back to Bandon. Thank you.
Okay, I guess we all have mics now.
Oh, great.
Mary.
Thank you. Now, is this on? Yes. I could spend my 2 minutes talking about my extensive background as an elected official, but instead I hope to clarify some of the things that have been posted about my supposed record, but what it did was basically discredit the city, and I hope to set the record straight. We've been accused of requesting the demolition of both motels at the end of 11, with no signs of activity on either property. Those properties, as most know, are owned by Mike Kaiser of Bandon Dunes, and he has all the needed permits to build a new motel at Coquille Point. The city did not ask him to tear down the existing motel. In fact, it cost us thousands of dollars in lost motel taxes after it was torn down several years ago. I guess you need to ask Mr. Kaiser when he plans to build a Coquille Point, not the city. We have been labeled as a city that isn't friendly toward business, property owners, and its citizens. Nothing could be further from the truth. The Post mentions the former Italian restaurant south of town, boatworks on the jetty, the empty gas station across from Ace Hardware, and the Minute Cafe, all privately owned buildings over which the mayor nor the city has any control. It's easy to focus on the abandoned buildings, but I prefer to talk about the positive things that have occurred in the last year or so, including the former Dave's TV building, which has been beautifully remodeled by Tom Stadelman and is now the pride of Old Town. And let's talk about the wonderful job done by Damon Weatherall in taking the former Lloyd's Cafe and making it a showcase in the middle of the town, and the new sushi business operated by Damon and his partner Archie Garrett. Let's talk about the new covered patio opened by Angelo's Italian restaurant, the improvement at Tony's Crab Shack and other businesses on the waterfront, the improvements Lori has made to the Bandon Fisheries Warehouse and the new arcade in town. The icing on the cake is the multi-million-dollar improvement to the new marina by the Port of Bandon. These are things I'm proud of and have supported.
I'm going to start the questions now. And I'm starting with some of the more specific ones because we've gotten so many in, and let's just get right to it. So, Mary, you will start with this question.
Okay.
What is your opinion about the number of VRDs, vacation rental dwellings, in the city of Bandon?
Well, I have not been supportive of too many of them. But the more I look at them, I researched that issue today, wondering if that wouldn't come up. And in Bandon, at least, we have only a certain area where they can be located. And in that area, then you have to be so many feet away from another one. And we also have just implemented a new telephone number so that if you have a VRD next to you and they're partying or they've left garbage out, there is a phone number that you can call, and we're hoping that it will be instantly responded to. So VRDs, they do take housing out of the market, but most of them are high-end houses and probably aren't going to be your average rental anyway. So I think we have just probably enough. I wouldn't want to see very many more VRDs built, but what we have now, they do contribute TOT, the transient occupancy tax money, which is important to the city.
Okay, the same question to you. What is your opinion about the number of VRDs, vacation rental dwellings, in the city of Bandon?
As a person who uses VRDs when I travel, I do appreciate them, and I also appreciate that they are generally owned and not operated, but they're generally owned by private citizens, and there's not a lot you can do to put them out. I do believe that they do take housing away from locals, and while there are rules that state for short term within the city, if you have the rental 30 days, I believe, or over, you can still do it. So the loophole there is that you rent it for the month, even if you're only going to be staying 10 days or so. You say you're going to rent it for the month, and the equal value is about the same as if you were renting in the real property area. I think that it's a national problem. I believe that it is a problem for housing, but I think that the city has done as much as is possible to regulate them, and I do appreciate that.
Starting with you with the next question, Angela. The question is, how would you promote business other than tourism in Bandon?
You know what? I have a business that is other than tourism. We are a light manufacturing business. We have 15 employees. We actually make this cable that's right here. So it's kind of cool to see my own name on this microphone. And I do think that all around is bringing Bandon to be a livable place. Right now I'm facing problems with my own employees for finding places to live. It's really hard to recruit businesses to town when their employees can't find a place to live. The city has its own problems. It has its own residents that are living in Coquille and further out in order to afford a place to live. So I do think affordable housing is the #1 thing to bring businesses to town, because if you can't find employees, they don't have anywhere to live, who's going to work for you?
Thank you. Mary, how would you promote business other than tourism?
Well, as Angela says, the number one problem facing Bandon is a lack of housing. And it doesn't matter whether you're talking about businesses or just people wanting to come here to live that are retired. There simply isn't adequate housing, and what is here is tremendously expensive. But there are a lot of businesses here that aren't necessarily associated with tourism, but we may not know about them. And I think we're going to start trying not necessarily to have a business tax, but to have a registration of businesses so that we will know what kinds of businesses we have, and we would be more apt to help them get established if we even knew about them.
Okay, this one is going to start with you, Mary. And you both mentioned workforce housing. How would you propose to increase workforce housing at the city level?
Yes, just this week I have asked our city manager to look into what's called a construction excise tax. And I think it was 2016, the state of Oregon allows cities and counties to tax new commercial development, not only commercial, but residential development. Now, houses, say under 250,000, they wouldn't be impacted, but a lot of the housing that is being built now out on the beach is way more than 250,000. So I studied the construction excise tax, and what the state did is it has to be designated for workforce housing. So all the money that's raised, 15% of it goes to the state for a fund that comes back to the people in your community who need help with getting a down payment to get into a house. That's often either with a rental, it's so expensive to pay the first and last, sometimes it's $5,000 or $6,000 just to get into a house. And a lot of people it'd be actually cheaper for them to buy a house than it would be to rent. And so the money that comes from this construction excise tax goes into a fund to help people with housing. And I think we've got to think outside the box. And Tori has promised me that we will research this, and this is something that a lot of cities do, and I think this is something that we need to do.
Angela? Yes. What should we be doing to increase the amount of workforce housing in the city of Bandon?
Well, thank you very much. I do appreciate you looking into that this week. That's really awesome. I think one of the things that we're doing already with the school board and the city is we are coming together and doing a project that will have workforce housing in a mixed use format. So we're using land that's owned by the school board across the street from the football field, and that whole area will be mixed housing. So it will be houses, it will be condos, it will be apartments, it will be everything in between. And the city and the school board are working together on that project. It has, we've had some slowdowns, and I think that it really hasn't been focused on enough. I really do think we need to focus on grants. I know we lost one, I believe, for timelines for sidewalks for that project. But I think that housing right there, and the way that we're using the land for the school board, is the value of the land will be subtracted from the price of the house. And then we're also working on how many rolls you can do for how much it can sell for, so it can only profit a certain percentage, when your down payments for those. And I think if we can get that done, we're going to have housing for not only school employees, but also nurses, and we're going to keep those prices down, and we're also going to be working on how they can build ownership of those as well. And I think that's going to be a really cutting edge project, and it'll go straight statewide if we do a great job with it.
Thank you. The next question starts with you. Do you think the city has adequate provisions for services to homeless residents? What are some of the challenges, and how could you resolve them?
I don't think we really have any services for homeless people at this time. I do have a friend who works directly with the homeless that we have in this area. We've donated food and clothing and helped them wash clothes and get interviews, and I really think that if you can, double-edged sword, right? We're dealing with mental health problems, we're dealing with drug problems, we're dealing with lack of resources. The North Bend resource up there is closing down. So I do not think that it's a problem that a town the size of Bandon can deal with on our own. And that's where I come back to the collaborative efforts. If we can start working together to get these people clean. I mean, something as easy as a place to shower, a place to store their goods so that they don't have to worry about them being stolen while they're out for a job interview. Temporary housing, small housing. If we can work on these things, I think that we can really help people, lift people up and get them out of that situation. I just don't think anybody actually wants to be, and I don't think we really understand how close we all are to that. 40% of Americans can't afford a $400 emergency. All of us in this town are close to that, and I don't think we understand how close to the razor's edge that a lot of us are.
Mary, what do you think about provisions for providing services to homeless residents in Bandon, and what are some of the challenges that need to be addressed?
Yes, I've been dealing with a woman named Sheila Howe. I don't know if she's here tonight, but she's with Holy Trinity Catholic Church, and she has been meeting regularly with ministers, including the Presbyterian, the Episcopal, the Catholic. She has a group of ministers who are working on them, and each one of them, they're coming forth and they're giving phone numbers and how to contact them and what services they can offer. A lot of them offer food. And the Devereaux Center in Coos Bay actually is over in Empire District. They've been given a month that they have to come up with 24-hour security. And I noticed, I think I learned yesterday, that they are at least trying to build a fence all the way around the property. They're trying desperately not to have to close down, because this has been a wonderful resource. And the people in the Empire area, a lot of them have complained. This is kind of like not in my backyard. A lot of people don't want the services in their backyard, but this Tara Johnson, is the manager of the Devereaux Center, has done a tremendous job in helping people. And we have a young woman here, I think her name's Marissa Nuez, and she also goes out into the community and helps the homeless. And as Angela said, either addiction or mental illness or the combination of the two are what many of these people are faced with. And thank you. It's all right. It's all right.
Okay, we're starting with you next, Mary. The question is, what is the status of the Marriott Hotel that is to be built in Bandon? And what can the city do to make things go well?
Well, the status is, I've been talking regularly to Barry Johnson, who is a representative of Marriott, and they paid $1.9 million for the property, and I believe he told me they had put half down, and they were definitely planning to build there. Problem is, then they had the archaeological survey determined that there were middens and pieces of remnants of village back underneath what used to be Wall Street, so it would be back underneath the hill where the motel is. So Brenda Mead, who is the chairwoman of the tribe, wrote a letter and said she did not want the motel to be built there. And the big problem for Old Town with the motel is that the city's ordinance only called for 1 parking space for every 2 rooms. If it were a motel to be built, it would be a parking space for each room. But somehow this ordinance was patterned after the city of Portland, where you have downtown hotels and people come in by public transportation. Well, that's not the case in Bandon. So the night that the planner announced that they were only going to have 45 parking spaces for an 85-room hotel, I couldn't believe it. And they said, well, that's what your ordinance calls for. So right now, they are not going to build. They may very well look for another parcel. We've been dealing with them at the city level for another parcel and somewhere else in town. So we would like to keep them in town, but they're probably not going to be on the gravel parking lot.
Okay, can you hear everybody? Does everybody have their mics close enough?
No.
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 Who can't you hear? Mary. Okay. chairs a little closer if you can. Yeah. Okay, this is to Angela, and it's the same question. How do you understand the status of the Marriott Hotel, and what can the city do to make things go well?
Just in the case of full disclosure, I'm a huge Marriott fangirl, so I am platinum status, love Marriott, I think they're an amazing company. However, if it's not going to work on that property, I would love to help them find a way. But also working with Brenda, she has not said absolutely no to that process. She would just like to see the land honored in a way. And I think that we can work together with the tribes to find a way to honor the space and also build a hotel there as well. But if it's not the place, it's not the place. But there is currently no Marriott hotel on the Oregon coast at all. So I do feel that it would draw tourists, especially someone, like I said, like me, who opens up the Marriott app and sees what hotels are around. It will bring a different tourist here, and I do think it would be a good thing for the area in general to have a major market hotel in the area.
Thank you. Here, this next question starts with you. What can or should be done to improve parking issues in Old Town?
I have heard that there's an idea to have a parking place over by Freedom Graphics. I think that's an awesome idea. I love the brand new parking area that is across from the station restaurant. I think that we are doing everything we can to have parking in the area. I think getting an area, if we could perhaps figure out a way to have RVs park in a certain area so that they're not taking up so much space. But I think, things are on the way. If we can get that parking structure across for a parking area, hey, if it could be a structure, that'd be great too. But if we can get a parking area across from Freedom Graphics with that crosswalk there, I think they've done a great job with that. So if we can get moving on that, I think that would help a lot.
Mary, how would you answer that? What can be done to improve parking issues in Old Town?
Well, obviously, the city has made every effort. We paid $500,000 for the Lisa Schilling lot there next to the station restaurant that is now developed. And that was $500,000 in urban renewal dollars, and then I think it cost almost that much to pave and get it ready for parking. We also, the lot that Angela's talking about is a city-owned lot behind Freedom Graphic, and that's the reason that the state, we were surprised when the state put that second traffic light down there at Chicago. We were not prepared for that because we haven't even gotten to the point where we're going to develop that lot, but we do have the lot. And so people are surprised when they come around the corner there by Freedom Graphics. In fact, if you notice the black marks on the highway, you will know that somebody probably had switched the light on and they were screeching to a halt. It's not a very safe place to be. But we are doing everything we can to improve the parking. But the most important thing, I think the city and the port and the Coquille tribe are hoping to be able to buy the gravel parking lot, because that's the key, particularly for the Bandon Fisheries building. That is the key for that end of town, to have that gravel parking lot. And we will probably put some kind of a park in there, a small park. But we want to work with the Coquille tribe, and I think they'll be working with us. Thank you.
Okay, we're starting with you, Mary. You're bound to run into conflicts of interest with family and friends in a town the size of Bandon. How do you resolve this? Or how do you deal with this?
I don't, so far I haven't really run into any conflicts of interest. My family's all retired. None of them are on any boards or commissions. I suppose it could be a conflict with me being on the hospital board and being mayor, but I don't, conflict of interest doesn't seem to be something that's ever entered into my discussion.
Same question to you, Angela.
Well, I don't have any family in Bandon. My parents are now pretty much full-time in Mexico. I've told my son that he's lucky in that regard and that he doesn't need to do a family tree once he starts dating. So there's benefits to that. In terms of conflicts of interest, I believe in full transparency. If you shouldn't be voting on something, then you should abstain. On school board we have Stan Avery, and the school district pays him, right, for plumbing services in the area, not him, well, his family now. But if there's something on the agenda for that, or if it's in the line items for the budget, he abstains and we vote without him. And I think that that's the kind of transparency that we need. I think we need to be going over all the things, and if there's a subject that's on the agenda, if there's something you need to verbally say, I cannot vote on this, I have a conflict of interest, and I believe in full transparency in that matter.
Okay, we're starting with you, Angela, with the new question. How important do you think urban renewal is to the city of Bandon, and why?
I think urban renewal is absolutely imperative. One of the things that was addressed towards me at the beginning was the fact that I have pointed out blight that we have in this area. There is urban renewal dollars. There are private-public partnerships in which municipalities can buy blight properties and fix them in such a way that they can be resold and reused. Because a lot of times, especially in this area with the way that these buildings were built up so quickly after the fire, is that they have problems, underlying problems that the regular mom and pop business can't afford to fix. I mean, if you walk into some of these businesses, you look between the cracks in the wood and you can see water underneath. I mean, these are big problems that can't be fixed by an individual business. If a municipality and a public-private collaboration can work together to work on these blight properties, to fix them up and resell them, then I think that that would really help with it, with both business and with the beautification of Bandon.
The next question. Oh, you didn't get that. Okay, thank you.
It's all right. Yes, urban renewal, it was urban renewal dollars that the city of Bandon used to buy after Tillamook came in and bought and tore down our cheese factory. The city of Bandon used urban renewal dollars to pay $500,000 to Tillamook for that piece of property, with the understanding we were basically in a public-private partnership with Face Rock Creamery, and they came in and built the beautiful creamery. We had leased it to them, but they were having a difficult time getting financing, conventional financing, because they didn't own the land beneath the building. So we later then worked out an agreement with them. So we sold the land underneath the cheese factory building to them, but we maintained the parking lot as a public parking lot. So even if the use should change, the parking lot will still be in for public parking. Urban renewal dollars have been very, very important to Bandon in a city where you have a permanent tax rate of 46 cents compared to, say, Myrtle Point with $7 a thousand, Coquille, Coos Bay. Everybody has a higher tax rate than Bandon. We have the lowest, probably the lowest of a city of our size, maybe in the country, but certainly in the state. And so we have used urban renewal heavily. The traffic light at Fillmore, for example, was paid for by urban renewal. And as I had said earlier, the parking lot that are all being financed with urban renewal. So those dollars are extremely important to a city like Bandon that just has so little. We get more in bed tax, transient occupancy tax, way more than we get in property taxes. Our property taxes are about $200,000 a year. Our bed tax is more like $1.4 million a year. So tourism and urban renewal are extremely important to the city's of Bandon.
Okay, then you start the next question. What do you see as the most urgent priorities for the city of Bandon?
Actually, I see two. One, and I think we've pretty well explained it, was the important housing issue. There are so many things that can't happen, and one of them, of course, is developing businesses, because if people can't find a place to live, they aren't going to be able to work here. And they're certainly not going to be able to work here at a minimum wage job if they don't have housing, if they have to travel. But I'm also concerned about the gorse issue on the bluff at Beach Loop. I've been going to the municipal court lately, and I've noticed that people are being cited. This one woman, for example, has a 2-acre parcel on the beach, and she has cleared 97% of her gorse. But she is being hauled into municipal court for the other 3%. But she has this extensive letter, I have it here somewhere, but she has a letter from a geologist that says if you cut this gorse, you will destabilize the bluff and you could easily lose your deck and your house. So these people, they are more than willing to address their gorse issues, but our ordinance is so restrictive that the judge can't do anything. He pointed out to the people, he said, I'm sorry, but the ordinance says it all has to be gone, and we're going to cite you. She was going to be fined, I think, $1,100 if she couldn't get the last 3% of the gorse off by March. And she has a 3-year plan, and she's hoping so the city of Bandon, I have asked to have it put on the agenda for the November meeting, and we are going to discuss the issue of adding in erosion and slope maintenance into our ordinance.
Angela, what do you think are the most important urgent priorities for the city?
I think obviously housing is, I would like to get as much housing as possible. I really did appreciate the ADU funding that we did provide, that the city provided for people to add additional resources for housing to their own properties. I think we can do that again. I think we should do it 10 more times. I think that we have enough people that are living actively and living and working in Bandon actively, that are living with multiple roommates, that are living in their parents' homes, that are living in, honestly, cars, and are couch surfing. I think that we could build probably 100 apartments. We could build 100 two-bedroom apartments, and it would not bring in this wave of people that people are so scared of. It will help get individuals that are already working and contributing to Bandon society their own place to live. And it would help with my employees. I think it's really hard. We pay really great money, and still we have people that can't qualify. I can't buy my own home. If I was to buy my own home today, I could not afford it. So I do think that we have a housing issue in this town. I also think we have a planning problem. I think we need to develop a 5-year and 10-year master plan for growth. We need to be able to say that this is what we want to reach out. When somebody comes to us, we want to say, yes, we have the resources for this, here's what you can do. I think that kind of long-term planning, you see it in other cities. You see it in Florence. You see it in Lebanon. You see it in Sisters. You see this kind of planning that, here's where we are on stage 1, here's where we're going to be 5 years from now, and here's where we're going to be in 10 years. And I would like to see that kind of long-term planning come to the city of Bandon.
Okay, we have time for at least one more question. So how do you, Angela, how do you see the relationship with the state legislators? And maybe some examples of what has happened and what you would like to see happen?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm glad to see 2 of our representatives right here in the first 2 rows. Thank you guys for coming. I've sent you a couple emails, haven't heard back. I hope to love to talk to you. I was very lucky to meet Monique Despain last night at the Women in Business meeting that we have. She was awesome, loved talking with her. I think she has a lot of great ideas. She's someone that's new, like me, so she was excited to see someone also stepping up and stepping out. And I've talked to Val Hoyle, I've talked to Drew Farmer, I've talked to a number of people who are really excited to see that excitement coming back to Bandon. We have some great people running for city council, and I do think that energy, that passion, that excitement, I think that will help get us state attention, along with the collaboration with our local leaders. I've talked to the Mayor of North Bend, the Mayor of Coos Bay. They're doing amazing things, and they're really excited for us to come on board and be more collaborative.
Mary, what is the relationship with state legislators? And could you give some examples of what has happened and what you would like to see happen?
Well, I have both Court Voice and David Brock Smith on speed dial, as well as the Coos County Commissioners, and the Mayor of Coos Bay just called me last week to talk about the Devereaux Center. So I don't know how I could have a better relationship than I have with the 2 that are sitting right over here on speed dial. They've always been willing to assist anytime. We are trying to get something done with the lighthouse. The lighthouse is crumbling. We have a committee of Friends of the Lighthouse, and we've asked David, and we're going to be asking Court. We want to get as much help as we can from the state. It's hard when they're with a minority party. I wish that weren't the case. I wish we had at least a 50-50, because they have a lot of good ideas, and they are definitely representative of our area and the people in our community. So I appreciate again all the help that you both have given us.
Okay, the last question, I believe, Mary. In the event of a public health or climate emergency, what is your position on supporting or not supporting the federal response?
Supporting or not supporting the federal response? Is this some kind of an attack on FEMA or what? Well, you
I
didn't
don't
write.
know.
You didn't write the
I
question.
didn't write the question. I think I can see the side, so.
Yes, I think that we would welcome, and we are very likely one of these days, hopefully not in our lifetime, but some of you younger people, it may very well be in your lifetime, when the Cascadia subduction earthquake hits this area, you will be more than happy, we will be more than happy to accept all federal help that we can get. And I know our police chief came to the council the other day, and he's talking about a new emergency plan. His idea was that the routes out of town, and this would be for fire or any kind of an emergency, the routes out of town would be the highways. And I said, wait a minute, at the Bandon fire, hundreds and hundreds of people were saved, not by going to the highway because they were closed, but by going to the beach. So he's going to take another, we said, well, what about people having to come over the bank through the gorse? Believe me, if the town is burning, your gorse isn't going to bother you. You are going to make it to the beach. So he's going to be looking into changing and adding the beach access into his plan.
The same question for you. In the event of a public health or climate emergency, what is your position on supporting or not supporting the federal response?
I would never turn down FEMA's help. I think that we have organizations that are helping. I know that I've had friends and family in Florida area, in California, who are affected by the fires, who have helped. They've helped them rebuild. They've helped them have food, water, shelter for months on end. And I think that I would absolutely support that. And I do also agree. You know, I always think of an escape plan, right? So we had a friend staying with us who didn't understand the testing of the tsunami warning, right? So he heard that tsunami warning and beat it to Coquille. He thought that this was it, that the wave was coming. And I tried to explain, well, I mean, the 9.5 earthquake will give you a really good warning as to that wave coming. So I do think that, you know, it's not a matter of, you know, I don't want to say it's not a matter of if, but when. I hate to be that negative. But I think we all should be prepared. I think you should have your own resources in your own house, your own escape plans, all of that you should have ready to go, with the food, water. There's lots of great resources in this area, including CERT, that can help you with those go bags, with all of that. You should be ready to go and not need that immediate help.
Okay, thank you. I think I've touched on all these, about 15 things of questions that came in, and about 10 more that were on a list to start with, but all except one. So if you want to be real short on this, and I'm going to start with you, Angela. How would you like to see the city support community programs for youth and seniors?
Good question. I'm on school board, so obviously I'd love to see the city help with youth in the area. I think that helping with this partnership that we have for housing is going to help not only get us great teachers and administrators, it's going to help our kids get better education there. In terms of seniors, I think that we need to be better about transportation. In parking, obviously, I think that area activities, I think that the city, like I talked about earlier, we talked about that siloing. I do think that the city should work more in partnership with our great Main Street Association, with the Chamber of Commerce, with our great volunteers here tonight from the Greater Bandon Association. I think that the city needs to work more to help bring more attention to senior and student activities. I mean, just for the school, if you think about it, there's about 1,000 people between workers, students, families, all of those things that need the help and support from the city at all times.
Thank you. Same question to you, Mary. How can the city support community programs for youth and seniors?
Well, I'm not sure that how good a job we do with the youth, although I know we've always been supportive of the Bandon Youth Center. But I know that a part of this, if you were to walk that way south in this building, you would come into the senior center, which we have provided for the seniors for many, many years, and they have a lot of activities there. And we have the EAT program, which is for mostly seniors. There are a lot of senior issues that we take care of here in this building, and I think we could do more with the youth, and we need to work closer with the Bandon Youth Center.
Okay, thank you. This will be the closing statement time for the two candidates. Mary, you start this one. You have 1 minute.
Over the years, I have received hundreds of positive notes, but none as important as the one written to fellow Rotarians in December by then Rotary President Larry Langenberg, who said, "Thank you to Mayor Mary Schamehorn for being our guest speaker last week. Mary has dedicated a lot of her life in service to the city of Bandon. I don't think there is anyone else who could compare with her knowledge of Bandon, past and present. It's always enjoyable and informative to hear her talk about Bandon history and the current issues facing our little town." Another said, "If it isn't broken, no reason to fix it, so we are voting for you again. If experience, knowledge, dedication, and a lifetime of service to Bandon matters to you, then I hope you will support me in my re-election bid for mayor." Thank you.
That was a long sentence. Angela, we are at the closing statement.
Thank you so much. I just want to say thank you guys all for coming out here. I had no idea that this many people would be here. I think that Bandon is an amazing place, and I do feel like while I might not have the experience that Mary does, you know, her first year in city council was the year that I was born, so decades and decades of service to our community, and I really want to thank you for that. But it's been 20 years. I do believe that there's more things that we can do, and I'm really excited, and hopefully that I can contribute to that future success for Bandon.
Okay, that concludes our mayoral candidates.